What up, nerds, and welcome to a very special recap episode. We're going to be talking about everything that we saw at the Overlook Film Festival this year, which was quite a bit. But before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. With me tonight, we got your boy Rand Diesel calling in from Washington, D.C. What's up, man?
So smile!
What's up, Brown Note?
That's
you
what
ready
they
to talk
call
Overlook?
Me. That's what they call me in high school. Brown Note Bob was.
That's right.
My nickname.
I'll let you figure out. You can deduce why that might be.
I carried a synthesizer. Everywhere I went, just like slamming the lowest note possible.
People just be pooping the pants, buddy.
That's what we're doing. Juice is out this week. He was unable to make it down to New Orleans this year, but filling in for him is everybody's favorite. We got your boy Matt back on the show. What's up, Matt?
What's up, everybody? I don't have a brown note. I might be able to knock a red note out here in a minute.
What the fuck?
I don't know what that means.
Are you going to shit your pants?
It's bleeding in your drawers. Y'all have never done that?
Oh, okay. Well, the hemorrhoid treatment is not working, is what I would recommend you see somebody about that.
New Orleans did you dirty.
I refuse.
Yeah, the jambalaya really did you dirty.
Not that spicy.
Them alligator balls.
Alligator balls.
Gator balls. Yeah, so we're fresh off the trip to New Orleans for the Overlook Film Festival. If you're unaware of what that is, it's they bill themselves as a festival that celebrates everything in horror. And we've been covering this festival for the past like 4 or 5 years now. Matt, you hung out with us last year, I believe was your first time there, and then you liked it so much you wanted to come hang out again this year.
I think I'm gonna make this an annual thing. It's great seeing the movies, and it's great getting to hang out with all the children from the Slack. You know, we've had a lot of people from Slack show up both years, so it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah,
man. It used to be Bob and me and one of the Mikes or both.
Yeah,
who are more childhood friends. So it was good to get things really going this year with our children. Our children with 2 L's, to make that clear.
Children. Yeah, the squad seems to get bigger and bigger each year. Shouts outs to Jackie B and the librarian from the Slack channel. They hung out as well. Really, really awesome finally meeting them and hanging out with them. Before we get into the movie reviews proper, I figured we just sort of talk about all the extra cool fun stuff that we did at the festival and just sort of the general vibe of the situation, just to let everybody know who maybe hasn't heard us talk about the film festival before.
Oh yeah.
They always have an opening night party and a closing night party. A Thursday evening was the opening night party, and it was thrown by Shudder this year. They were sort of celebrating their 10th anniversary, which kind of blew my mind. I didn't realize they'd been around for a decade already.
That's crazy. Yeah.
But they threw the show, and it was sort of hosted by the Boulay brothers. There was a second line walking from the movie theater over to the Toulouse Theater, which is where the party was at. And they were riding in a convertible, and they had a band playing behind them, and everybody marched on over.
Oh, yeah.
And
the band, fucking killer-ass clowns poking their heads at every fucking storefront window where people were dining that they could. It was great. Got a lot of footage of that. There's some big-ass headgear from second line style, giant head, paper mache type deals going on. It was great. It was a lot of fun. And they were playing horror classes. When we caught up to it, because we weren't there right at the beginning, we caught up to it right when they started, or we're playing through the It's Shining intro theme. Which is a weird fucking song to be playing in the second line, but they made that shit work.
It was pretty sick. And then, they had a bunch of drag happen inside the theater, and Shudder also bought the bar for the evening, so it was open, and we consumed far too much whiskey in one evening.
Yeah, I think you kind of outdid yourself a little there, Bob. I think you were still feeling it the next day, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I was in rough shape the following day, so much so that I had to miss trivia, unfortunately, which was generally one of my favorite things to do during the festival, because like random folks show up and you get to meet cool people, famous and just like normies who are hanging out. You get to make new friends basically every year. But you guys can talk more about trivia since I wasn't there.
Well, before we do that, I do want to call out the performers at the opening party who I just had. I couldn't remember them all, but there was Blackberry, Asia Consent, and our favorite, our chantable favorite, Throb Zombie, which we started a chant, and I've never ever been more pleased with how that went. I've never started a chant more successfully in my life. Yeah. People were ready to chant for Throb.
Yeah, it's fun to just yell the word throb in public over and over
again. Dude,
I've been doing it for a week now.
I've tried starting that chant in the post office and stuff, and people just don't go along. It's really a shame.
They're missing out.
I know. But yeah, we did go to trivia, and buddy, it was hard this year.
Yeah, it was hard because Bob is like a ringer, and he's like, I'm going to go take a nap.
Yeah.
Rob couldn't even get through fucking tiki drinks, man. That's how rough it got.
I know. I couldn't finish my tiki drink, and I was like, I just need to go back to bed. And I went and slept for 2 hours. Yeah, trivia. I saw the pictures. It looked like it was a good time, and you guys ended up winning.
Yeah, we did. We won a round, but it was rough.
Yeah,
I was genuinely shocked because I had given up. This was at the last round they did that we won, and I was just having a conversation, and librarian goes, Andy, we won. I was like, oh shit! We ran up there, and they were giving out some good freebies, man.
Yeah, they were.
I got a couple of out of print Blu-rays. I was told later. I didn't know that, but the physical media dude that didn't show up didn't get his shot, so he had to tell me all about my good shit.
Yeah, Shudder supplied the prizes, and boy, they brought so much stuff that they were just giving stuff away for free at the end.
Hell yeah, man!
Like pins and DVDs. I got a Blu-ray of The Howling 3. I got a bunch of Night Owl buttons from the movie Late Night with the Devil.
Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
you guys are really rubbing it in. You know, it's cool. I didn't want to be there.
You know, you didn't want to be there, Rob. It's fine. We'll take all those prizes. We'll take it on the chin for you.
It was hosted by Sam Zimmerman, he works for Shudder. He's like one of their programmers. He acquires a bunch of stuff for them. Which is cool to see him around. I don't think, to my knowledge, I don't think he's ever been at the Overlook before. What else went on? Saturday we had the Joe Hill Q&A, which again was actually hosted by Sam Zimmerman, which was super awesome to hear him talk at length. That was dope.
Joe's a guy I want to hang with, man.
Yeah.
You know.
He was real
that's
laid
actually
back.
a feeling that's going around. I wanted to hang with everybody. I was like, man, these people seem cool as fuck. Let's just fucking chill.
You can tell Joe has like a down to earth sense of humor too. Like he wasn't aloof like some authors I've heard talk. Like he was just like hanging out with one of the guys. It's just you know, there was rows of people between.
That Amy Tan's full of herself, man. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Damn. Yeah, he
no idea.
Something new that they did this year is they had like a panel room, dedicated panel room that was going like all day. So they had a whole bunch of different authors talking in there. The Boulet brothers, I think, did a Q&A in there. A bunch of Q&As and cool stuff.
Workshops, the DIY workshop. There were some cool workshops and stuff. Like, that's the thing about these festivals is like you really cannot do everything you want to. No matter how hard you want to, you won't be able to.
Yeah, like the I think they had that in the DUI. There was the director from It Ends was like, do you want to make a movie with your iPhone and some duct tape? I'll tell you how. And like he just talked for an hour. I didn't get to listen, but I kind of regret not going.
DIY, not DIY.
Whatever.
Okay. It's like, man,
government
New Orleans.
down
If
now.
you get a DUI in New Orleans, you really fucked up. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, it was cool listening to Joe Hill. I got him to sign a book, which, hey, look at me. I'm fancy.
Whoa. A book, not a Blu-ray? What's going on?
I know. I can read. I know some words.
Excuse me, Mr. Man.
I know at least a handful of words. The closing night party was later that night back at the Toulouse Theater, and it was I guess it's a type of dance party that they have often in New Orleans. They call it Splatter Day Night. They had a couple DJs set up, and they were playing like synthwave music, and they had lasers and, old tube TVs with, slasher movies on, and they had a projector playing clips from random horror movies.
It was sick.
If you can picture Blade 1, you are not too far off.
Yeah. It was a lot
open
of fun.
calling all suckheads. That's true.
It was a lot of fun. We ended up dancing a little bit. Nobody cut a bigger rug than our friend Mike, though. He was getting it, putting in
dicing that rug apart, buddy.
Yeah. It looked like 13 ghosts were trying to give him a wedgie at once. It was amazing.
I loved it because it was like kind of a like it was billed as kind of a gothy event or whatever, like dress up, like Halloween costumes, that sort of thing. And our boy Mike's rolling in with his fucking Florida Gators polo and his chubby level shorts. And I've never seen a man move so effortlessly across the dance floor and gain so many friends immediately.
It's like the Holy Spirit took over at one point, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know about holy, but the spirit was there.
The unholy spirit was moving through Mike. Definitely a fun closing night party. And the next day we did see a couple of like older movies. They Demon Night, they had like a 40th, I think it was 40th anniversary screening of Demon Night. And
Ernest Dickerson was there.
Yeah, they presented him with the Master of Horror Award, which they typically do every year. And it's a giant axe.
How many years have they done that? Is this the third or second year?
No, I think they've done it every.
Oh, really? I just only remember Flanagan got it last year, and I remember vividly.
I could be wrong, but
asked me, holy shit!
Definitely more than the past two, but maybe not every.
I always just picture them trying to get onto their airplane with that the next day.
Yeah.
I know, really. Yeah. We're going to have to ship this one.
It's a major award.
It's a major award.
That was a lot of fun to watch with a crowd. I think that's really the best way to enjoy that movie. And then after that, they did I think it was 65th anniversary screening of the original 13 Ghosts, and it was in Illusiono. So we had like the little viewfinder. They like recreated them and gave them out, which was also a lot of fun.
And there was a magic show before that.
There was.
Yeah, Zabrecki presented his magic performance that is very sardonic and funny and self-aware, and it's just like sort of classic good horror. Good magic performance.
Yeah,
he threw a bunch of playing cards out into the crowd, and I kept one. So like I have some magic now in my pocket.
Well, you are cursed. I just want you to know that.
Matt, you actually went to a 40th anniversary screening of Reanimator with Barbara Crampton in attendance.
I did. That was the first time I had ever seen Reanimator, and
what a way to see it.
It lived up to the hype. Good. I was scared I was not going to have the nostalgia that everyone else has, and this movie was going to be like mediocre. But no, man, that movie fucking kicked ass. It was like one of my favorite things that happened that weekend was seeing Reanimator with the live battery.
Nice. I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. I wanted to be there so bad, but like we already mentioned, it's like you just can't do everything, which sucks because you want to do everything.
I feel like we barely even scratched the surface this year. Like last year, I feel like
every year it seems like, because I went last year, but the year before I looked into it, and it gets bigger every year. They keep adding more and more stuff, but it's still only 4 days. So
you just
owning technology just is not there for us yet.
Miss out on more shit. They had like 40 features this year, and I believe they said it was the largest festival they've ever had. This was the 9th year, so next year will be their 10th year, which I'm sure they'll want to go even bigger for. They also have like immersive gaming, which we've never really done. You have to
I've still never done that.
You have to
every year
tickets.
I want to.
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 different games I think they usually have, and they're like, some of them are, might take a half hour. I think they usually have one that you can play throughout the entire event, which is kind of cool. So there's just like
everything
so
is
much.
Terrible was there. Like I love them, and I did not get to watch it. I did not I barely caught wind of it. I talked to one person who saw it, and they had a great time with it because they're that kind of person like me. But like just too much, man. Too much good.
Too much shit.
This needs to be. I love that it's condensed because it makes it doable for somebody who works for a living to go to this for a few days and cram in as much as possible. But like unlike other festivals where like things are just very, very drawn out over a week or 2 weeks or whatever,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But also, buddy, it's Sophie's Choice every hour.
Not to mention that it's in New Orleans, which is just an amazing city to visit without a film festival going on. Monday morning, I woke up and I did like half a day at the World War II Museum, the National Museum there. It's the nicest museum I've ever been in. You know?
Nice. I still got to do that. I've never been there somehow.
I ate so much food.
But that's
I gained
just
5 pounds.
Yeah. We ate
is
a
not
lot
an
of
exaggeration.
late night fried chicken and po' boys.
Yes, we did.
That's just kind of a general overview of some of the extra stuff that goes on at the Overlook. Let's go ahead and get into the movies we saw. So I think we got like 9 different films that we're going to talk about here. These are all either they just got released or they are going to be released probably sometime this year. So we're going to keep like all of these spoiler free, just because, you know, most of them you can't see yet. But first thing we saw was the opening night film, which is called Drop. And that did just come out. It got a wide release in theaters, so you can watch that now if you want to. This was Christopher Landon's most recent feature film. You might know him from Happy Death Day to You, Freaky. He's got kind of a vibe. How did you guys feel about this? This is definitely more thriller than horror, I would say.
Yeah. It was fun. It felt like it felt like a stage play. Like it pretty much all takes place in that one restaurant. I would say I like his other movies more, but I'm not calling this one bad. Like you said, it's more of a thriller than a horror movie. Some of the characters didn't ring true to me. Like, you know, like, oh, these are obviously fake characters for this movie. No one.
You're thinking of the boyfriend, aren't you? Or the date?
Yes, I am.
For sure.
He's too perfect. I don't trust it.
Yep.
But yeah, you know, it's a medium movie. I'd say watch it, but you can wait for streaming.
I'd echo that. I think, yeah, like I'm not as familiar with Christopher Landon's work. I've seen Happy Death Day. He did Freaky. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen I have seen Happy Death Day to You as well. And did he do he didn't do Becky, did he?
No.
No, I can see why you would think that.
It's weirdly, yeah. It has similarity to in my brain anyway. Yeah, I think I like this movie more than I like the Happy Death Day movies. I think that's probably an unpopular opinion. People really love those movies. I was not that hot on them, but I like this one a little bit more. I still do feel kind of like positive, but middling positive towards it. I think it's a good little like not thriller is maybe giving it a little too much credit, but it's got a little bit of the Alfred Hitchcock suspense, bomb under the table feeling to it. It does a pretty good job of justifying like a lot of the main character's actions anyway, and making sure that we really feel the tightrope that she's walking through this movie. But yeah, I would say it's fair to wait for streaming, but I go see it. People are actually making original movies now. We should be going to see them.
Yeah, I generally feel the same as y'all. It would be a perfect streamer. I had difficulty like suspending my disbelief. I couldn't like fall into the story the whole time. I was just like, nobody acts this way. I couldn't get over it.
Like in real life, this ended 30 minutes ago.
But not terrible. Definitely not a terrible movie. The next morning, we saw a movie called Dead Lover, and this is written by, directed by, and starring Grace Glowicki, as well as a handful of other people are also in this. And she's been in a lot of comedies. She's done some acting recently in a movie called Booger that was also at the Overlook last year, I believe. So she definitely has some like comedic chops, and this is very much a horror comedy. And if you want to, Matt, you kind of mentioned Drop was reminded you of a stage play. This very much reminded me of a stage play, the way it's shot.
Absolutely.
I really liked how this was filmed.
Yeah.
Like that, like it's minimum sets, black, like black background, pretty much the whole movie, and like it has stage style makeup, and people are like they're they're overacting on purpose to add that comedy to it. I actually like this. I've grown. I think my opinion on this movie's grown the longer it's been since I've seen it. Like the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, it was pretty nice. That was pretty nice. It was a lot to take in though that first time. It might need a rewatch.
Dude, I could not agree more. Like I feel like that this is the movie that I think might be top of my list at this point because it's grown so much.
Nice.
I've grown so much affection for it. It's a black box theater performance with like gonzo ass editing and like just a really like fuzzy look, like if that makes sense. And yeah, the performances, like I forgot I have I have superlatives. This one's superlative is both the smelliest lover and the best accents. The accents in this were called out beforehand by the person who introed the film. I'm sorry, I've forgotten who you were, but it was like fucking bananas, these fucking accents. Just like the most, like, I can't even describe it. They're just the most over the top accents possible, to the point where like at a certain point, like all these characters are playing all these actors rather are playing multiple characters. You can tell, and they're not really hiding that. They're just wearing different costumes, and there's like B characters or whatever, C characters, side characters, and some of them are like, despite this being like Victorian in setting, it's like they'll just be a random fucking like Caribbean accent in there and shit for no good reason on somebody who's wearing like a frilly shirt. Like there's something really charming about this. I just never seen a movie like it, and I think that's worth. And I enjoyed it at the same time. That can go really bad. But I enjoyed this movie a lot.
We didn't really mention the plot at all. The setup for this is it's about a lonely grave digger who is played by Grace Glowicki, and she is trying to find a partner, and she's having trouble doing so, and it gets a little Frankenstein-y. But pretty funny.
Fair to say.
Really, really straightforward, interesting way to make a randy. Obviously very low budget, but I think the choices they made based on whatever money they had were really smart. And it's just, like you said, Randy, never really seen a movie quite like it before. I'd recommend keeping an eye out for it.
I would like to see more movies like this. I mean, like comedy worked well, but like you could do the same thing with a serious story, and using that black background and the minimum sets. I think that could open up a lot of doors for some different storylines.
It's really a matter of buy-in. Like it's easy to buy in for a comedy where people are acting really silly. Like it's easier anyway. But I think you're right. Like, I mean, people can buy into bottle movies and things like that. Well, why not? I'm sure you could pull a drama out of something like this. I'm sure there have been movies that do some version of that, but there's something about the visual flair here too that I'm having trouble pinning my finger on. It's the lighting. It's so chiaroscuro. Shout out to Nicole.
It's got a graininess to it, and also the aspect ratio is it's got right. Like it's boxy. I don't know exactly the 4:3:1 or whatever it is. It's a square, so it looks very old timey, like they're shooting on like a medium format or something like that. But
it's like something when you were a kid you would wake up and see it like 3 a.m. and it would scar you for life. Like
or you would just no one would believe you that you actually saw it. Like
Next movie we saw is a movie called Ick, and this was written and directed by Joseph Kahn, and it stars Mina Suvari, Brandon Routh, Melina Polly Weissman, some other lovely folks. This the dude that directed this, I guess he made a lot of music videos prior, and he also was joined by, I forget the gentleman's name, but the musician that he had with him.
From the All-American Rejects.
Yeah, the singer from the All-American Rejects.
Tyson Ritter.
Tyson Ritter was
right.
Yeah, that sounds right. I believe that's his name.
He
was there, and they had worked together, and they recently shot like a music video together. And this movie features a ton of like pop punk music from the early 2000s. And the movie is about It opens up with this young high school quarterback, and he ends up breaking his leg due to the ick, which is like this mysterious blob-like stuff that's just all over the town. And he trips on it playing football, breaks his leg, and it sort of ruins his future football career, and he ends up never leaving the town, and he just becomes an English teacher at the school and sort of resents where he finds himself. And there's this... It's very much a horror comedy, and it's got this like evil blobby stuff that's taken over the town, and it's got a lot of jokes about millennials, but also a bunch of jokes about like Gen Z, and it's very much the conflict between the two generations.
Yeah,
I thought this movie was horrible.
I was going to say Matt had a low opinion of this film.
Yeah. I like 20 minutes in, I was ready for it to be over. I think a lot of the teenage actors, I believe they were directed to have flat acting or something, because like it was just, the whole movie was just like very, like everyone's talking monotone. There's like no emotion. Brandon Ross, the only one who feels like a real character. And then it's just like horrible jokes that you see coming miles ahead. I would say I would just skip this one, unless someone you trust tells you to go watch it. I wouldn't go watch it.
Rob, you were a little bit not so hot on this either, as I recall.
It did not work for me. I didn't particularly like the editing style. It was, you could tell Joseph Kahn worked in music videos, because it had that very like constant frenetic cutting where the camera always has to be moving, and it just doesn't work a lot of the times because there's no reason for the movement. It doesn't really add to anything really, and the jokes also just didn't land for me. I didn't find the humor to be particularly funny.
It got very choppy at parts. Like they were trying to tell a story, but they weren't giving you time to actually like soak any of it in.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Like I was a lot warmer on this than you guys were. Just like right out of the gate, you guys were pretty negative, especially Matt. But I was not quite that cold on it to begin with. But the thing that did bother me about this movie is what you already brought up, Bob, which is the pacing of it, the music. It's very music video coded, and I think that's intentional to a degree, because I think that this movie is very musical in nature. It's playing with that stock. It's kind of like an hour and a half mid-2000s music video, and I kind of like that conceptually, but in practice it's just hard on the brain. It's just kind of, it's too much all the time. It feels like too saturated.
I feel like they were trying to sell me a soundtrack. That's what
and they might have, because I kind of was like, man, I know all these fucking, like, it really hit the nostalgia vibes for me on the soundtrack, like for good and for ill. Like my superlative for this film is most Wheatus. This has the most Wheatus out of any film that we have seen at the Overlook. And I don't know, like I don't dislike it. Like I thought that Brandon Routh was a lot funnier than I really thought that he was. I've never seen him do comedy. I thought he was funnier than I would have expected. But yeah, like overall, like the story was kind of like everybody's weirdly aloof, and things just kind of like happen. They just kind of happen. Like the ick is just kind of growing there forever, and then grows bigger and bigger, and nobody seems to care that much or be that concerned. It's not like Brandon kind of voices concern, but it's not that. I don't know. It just kind of feels a little aimless, maybe, because everything is at the same pace. There's not really a crescendo, and then there's no arc. There's an arc, but it's like all on the same level of cadence, I guess. I don't know. I don't know the words I'm talking about.
But I think you guys hear what I'm saying. It's just fortissimo for 80 minutes.
It's all maximalism.
It makes me sad too, because like I'm a big Brandon Roth fan. I mean, like the dude started off in soap operas. And then he got the break playing Superman, and then like he did a long stint on the CW, like doing in the Arrowverse, doing all the superhero stuff. And he was in Scott Pilgrim, and he's been in some other dramas. Like dude's a working actor, and
I forgot he was in Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, he's one of the power vegans.
He's the vegan, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize this until I was looking at IMDb just now, but the young woman Melina Pulley Weissman, excuse me, I butchered that. Who played Grace, the primary girl. She was in the series of unfortunate events show on Netflix, which I did enjoy. I thought she was good in that. I feel like in this, she was like you said, like everybody's kind of like. I feel like this movie's overstuffed, and it does not give any of the characters except for maybe Brandon Ralph the air to breathe anything. So that's my big complaint about it. But all that said, I was much warmer on it than you guys were. I did walk out of this with a smile. I felt nostalgic and fun with it.
Good for you, Rand Diesel. Next up, we saw a movie called Ash, and this was directed by Flying Lotus. It did get a limited theatrical release, I want to say 2 weeks ago, so it might still be playing in a theater near you. If not, it's going to be hitting Shudder relatively soon. I don't have the date exactly, but I think within the next month or so. And this is very much a science fiction movie. Basically it's got Aaron Paul in it and Isa Gonzalez playing a character named Rhea. Rhea's sort of your main character here. She wakes up on a foreign world, whatever planet, in their little like space station that they've built, and all of the people that were there with her are dead, and she's sort of trying to remember what happened to them. Aaron Paul shows up maybe 30 minutes into the movie, and he kind of helps put the pieces together, and it's very like stylized and atmospheric, very rich colors. The soundtrack was also written by Flying Lotus, and it's nothing but synth bangers from wall to wall. Got some jump scares happening in this. You can definitely tell it was like influenced by all the greatest science fiction movies that we've probably seen and talked about. But how did you guys find this one?
I liked it a lot. Like, I haven't listened to the soundtrack too much, but Matt, you were saying that you've been bumping it quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I bought it like the second I walked out of the theater. Like that, I love like dungeon synth and fantasy synth. That's what I listen to when I chill out by myself. And it's full of bangers. It's amazing.
I'll tell you, man. Like I watched like maybe half of Kuso, his first film that he directed, if I remember right. And I was just like, I got like, it was very, very artistic and interesting and unique, but it was like another one of those movies that's like kind of too strange for me to get my head around. I was not really getting it. Like so I kind of shut it off. This one is a lot more accessible than that one is. And I could see a lot more of what I've come to find out from his interview and since is like David Lynch influence, that sort of like, the fucking ominous, like deep ass tones they're always pervasive throughout this film are very much a David Lynch thing. He apparently did a music video with David Lynch. I did not know that. Or David Lynch was in one of his music videos, something like that. Rad, awesome. I'm a David Lynch guy, so that carries some weight with me. But as a film, this was like, I think the story was reasonably basic, but the way it was told made it more interesting. And the visuals and the audio, those were what like made it stand out. Without those things, if it was a little more flat in either of those regards, I don't know that I would be talking about it quite so highly.
Yeah,
I think he did a good job, showing science fiction on a limited budget. They interviewed him after we watched it, and he said the original Suspiria was like a big influence on the way he did the lighting and everything. And it didn't click while I was watching it, but as soon as he said it, I'm like, oh, I definitely see that. That's fucking badass. And I think they did a good job. Like, when they start divvying out the clues at the end and like doing reveals, I think they did a real good job with that, making everything click into place at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one overall. I think I definitely enjoyed it more than I did Kuso, and I think it's one that is going to be kind of perfect on Shudder. Whenever it does hit, if you're into the science fiction subgenre, definitely pop it on, and it'd be a fun like Friday night watch at the house. Check it out.
Yeah, two beers. Turn this on about 10:30.
Yeah,
have your little bologna sandwich. Perfect night. Perfect
bologna sandwich.
Turn the volume up.
I was going to say Dippin' Dots. It is space after all. My superlative for this film, I know, I'm rolling in it. My superlative for this film was most ominous tones. So
for sure,
that is a much sought after superlative in my world.
Next up, we saw a movie called Good Boy. And this was directed by Ben Leonberg, written by Alex Cannon and Ben Leonberg. And it's got a handful of folks in it. Nobody that I recognize other than Larry Fessenden. There's sort of an obscured Larry Fessenden in this movie. This is a really interesting movie, though, because it is starring the director's dog. He is the main character in this movie, and I would say is sort of the quick elevator pitch for this is it's largely a haunted house movie, just shot from the point of view of a small dog. So the camera is roughly 2 feet off the ground.
A medium-sized dog.
Medium-sized dog. You almost never see the main character's face. I mean, you do, but just not nearly as much as you would expect to in a film. Just a lot of, ankle action.
That's sweet ankle action.
Interesting sort of trend in horror with this, classic subgenre shot from a different point of view. We had In a Violent Nature last year, which sort of, slasher movie shot from the POV of the killers for the entirety of the movie. Presence, haunted house movie shot from the point of view of the ghost, and then now this sort of other haunted house movie shot from the point of view of the dog. How did this one work for you guys?
Oh, I think I'm not as big on it as everyone else in the group was. This movie's only an hour and 12 minutes. And it feels like it's wandering in the middle. Like, I feel like they knew the beginning and they knew the ending, and they just tried to fill some time in the middle. The dog's fucking adorable though, so like you can almost forgive this movie anything. But I feel like they didn't iron out the story well enough. But then again, everything's from the dog's point of view, so who knows what the hell the dog's actually thinking? I don't know, But I enjoyed it. This is good entry level horror. I think you could show this to any tween or young teen, and they'll fucking love it. So yeah, I mean, like it's high on my list, but I wish they would have ironed the story out a little bit more. I feel like they filmed a bunch of stuff and then kind of worked it out in the editing room.
I'm not sure I would go that far, but I do agree that I think that the story does meander a little bit, or at least there's some things that happen towards the middle that are just hard to parse, at least the same way that you parse the rest of the film. Like, it seems like it's got like its language and it's telling things kind of off camera through conversations that the dog can hear, but that you aren't necessarily, that he's not focused on, but you can key in on things like that. It has like sneaky ways of letting you know what the story is without losing focus on the dog. And what he's thinking, like giving an impression of what he's thinking. But towards the middle, there's some parts where like scenes tend to like jump and not have a lot of connective tissue between them. Those are the parts I had a problem with. But like, buddy, if you want the movie that it's going to get you the quickest buy-in, as a dog lover, I was instantly like, if anything happens to this dog, I'm going to weep. I'm going to weep openly, loudly, blubber in this theater. So yeah, it's I was all in for it. It was it's just, I like this trend of like point of view horror, because really all it's doing is taking something that we love and giving it a point of view that we've just not really paid a lot of attention to before. And I don't know, like if you're going to find a new way in for a haunted house movie or for a slasher or whatever, there's a lot worse ways to do it than that. I think there's limited returns. Like eventually you'll kind of hit rock bottom and there won't be a whole lot of other, like you'll have to find some other way to make it unique. But for now, I'm really enjoying this little mini wave that's happening. Bob, how about you?
Yeah, I like this one quite a bit. I was just kind of blown away at how much the dog is able to convey with, his eyes and his face. They get him to look in a certain way and like turn his head and, wag his tail in a certain way, and it just like really worked. And I don't believe the dog was trained. It was just like the director's dog.
He
He's
had
like,
to have been
he's
trained.
like, I mean, to not to like the level of like a working dog that you would like hire out on a movie, but like, obviously
he is a well-trained
he knows,
domestic dog.
Yeah, obviously he knows
He's at least
some
that.
commands. Super cute dog though, and it largely did work for me. And I think this is one that it'll be worth checking out whenever it does get distribution. So keep Good Boy in mind.
The superlative is goodest boy.
That's
I
true.
didn't see that coming.
He is the goodest boy. Talking about boys, next up, Abraham's Boys.
Worst boys.
Worst,
I'm just kidding.
Worstest boys. This was based off a Joe Hill short story and directed by Natasha Kermani, and I believe they tackled the screenplay together. This stars Titus Welliver, Jocelyn Donahue, Aurora Perrineau, some other lovely folks. Titus Welliver, he basically plays Abraham Van Helsing after he has killed Dracula. So he is trying to run away from the horrors that he's seen, and he takes his family, his wife and his 2 boys, and he moves them all over to California, and they're sort of living on a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. They're trying to be left the hell alone, and there's sort of some evil that follows them home, and it might present itself in some surprising ways. How did this one work for y'all?
I was pretty excited for this one because we had come pretty much right off the heels of talking the discussion with Joe Hill, and like I really liked what he had to say. I liked his point of view on some of the stories he had talked about. So I was just interested in this as a point of view. He needed to kind of give his elevator pitch for the story, and ultimately, I think that it's like reasonably well crafted. Like it looks good, but buddy, this movie is a slog. I had a hard time in the majority of the middle of this movie. Like there's some moments that are good, but it's very soft and quiet, and not. I don't think it necessarily pays off in the end. All that softness and quietness. I think that by the end, the thing that I liked the best about it was just the performance of Titus Welliver. And I know, Rob, you disagreed with me on that. You were not as hot on that performance, but I really liked him. Like, he's a lost guy, so I'm immediately ingratiated to him. I just realized that the girl who played Elsie, Aurora Perrineau, is the daughter of Harold Perrineau, who is also a lostie. So I don't know. I got a little bit of like nerd. I got a little bit of nerd chub for that sort of thing, but ultimately it's kind of plodding. I don't it kind of goes where you expect it to go and doesn't really veer off those tracks once. It's kind of my feeling about it.
Matt?
I think I enjoyed it a bit more than that. The pacing reminded me a lot of the older westerns that I like. And this movie's beautiful. They shoot it out in California. I think the director came out and said they shot it like in 17 or 18 days.
Yeah,
which is nuts.
And but like it's crazy how much they got done in that little time. I'm also a big Titus fan. I'm a Titus fan from Deadwood. So he plays like one of the assassins in Deadwood, and I've been a fan of him ever since. I enjoyed the story. It did go a little slow, but a lot of westerns and other period pieces do that. I think the scenery was amazing. I think the sets were amazing. I think the costuming was amazing. I had a lot of fun with that aspect of the movie. And just, looking at, look at all the Dracula stuff we've gotten over the last 3 or 4 years. And yet there's still new ways to look at it and still new Dracula stuff coming out. I'm a Dracula fan. I know some people are kind of getting burnt out, but I read that book like every 2 or 3 years. It's a fucking masterpiece. It deserves all this attention. I personally think. But yeah, I liked it. I think I liked it a little more than y'all, but it is slow. I'll give you that. But I enjoy that sometimes.
I do too. It's just like for whatever reason, this one, I just didn't feel like I had a lot to occupy my mind as I would have liked in a slow movie. Like I could kind of see. I felt like I could see what was happening pretty clearly throughout without having to like think too hard about it, which makes the slowness that much slower.
I think you can definitely feel that this was a short story that they stretched out into a 90-minute movie. And I agree that like if the payoff really lands, cool, totally worth it. But I don't feel that it does necessarily. But a really cool idea for a story. Definitely a cool idea.
And just not a bad movie by any means, but just like didn't quite get there for me. Like I agree with Matt. Like it looks really good, and it's a Herculean thing to make a movie that quickly.
For sure. Yeah.
So
this one is going to be on Shudder eventually. I don't believe there's a release date yet, but keep your eyes peeled for Abraham's Boys on Shudder. Next up, we saw Clown in a Cornfield, and this does have a release date. It's like mid-May, I think. This was directed by Eli Craig, and it was based on the book series now, written by Adam Cesar, and it's got a handful of folks in it. Katie Douglas, a bunch of younger actors that I wasn't really familiar with. Will Sasso has a smaller role in here. Kevin Durand also has a smaller role. Those were like the faces that I recognized. But this is sort of like it's a horror comedy. It's about a slasher, a killer clown in this small Midwestern town. And these high school kids are kind of trying to survive. And I guess that's really all you can say without spoiling it.
Mid-May. That's such a weird release date for this movie.
I agree. It feels like a Halloween film.
Yeah, like maybe are they hoping like the DVDs go on sale in fall, or like
it's one jack-o'-lantern away from being like a Halloween
absolute
movie, Halloween movie. Period.
Yeah, like
that's all. They could have just shown it like in the corner of the frame, and I would have been like, "Yep."
Corn's only that tall and brown at a certain time of the year. People like.
Spent a lot of time with Corn, and that's the time of year. I don't know, man. Like, yeah, it's tough. Also, it's a little bit tough to talk about this movie because there are a couple of like pretty big spoilers that can happen with this movie if you're not careful. Like, things that like I wouldn't say like there's not a major twist necessarily, but it's some stuff that you don't want to know about in advance. Some good surprises you don't want spoiled.
I will say that this movie does the generations feuding off each other.
Yeah.
Way better than it did. I think it wanted this tone and just didn't get it.
Yeah, and this is definitely like it's got a younger cast and it's based on a young adult book series, but it is like a R-rated movie with the gore. Like it's got the goods if you're wanting to see a proper slasher. They deliver on some kills. It also has the director that made this, Eli Craig, also did Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, and I think it's the type of humor is different, but it has a kind of a similar spirit to that. I would say. Mm-hmm. So if you enjoyed
I think it's like character driven humor, which is like always appreciated. Like I'm a Dan Harmon guy, so like if you're gonna make jokes that are centered around who that person is that's speaking and how he interacts with the world or she interacts with the world, that goes a lot farther for me than like just a like clever wordplay or whatever, which is can be just as fun. But I approve of the way this humor is handled. I think that Eli Craig's got a good eye for that sort of thing.
I will say that this R rating is mostly for language and gore. There's no nudity in this movie, and they talk about sex very, very little. So like
very chaste.
Yeah, I think this would be a good like teenage entry point to horror. Like this is
definitely
high school Halloween movie, like fall festival type movie.
Yeah.
So if you're cool with your kids seeing like people get chainsawed up, put this on.
This is America, so people are probably fine with it.
They probably see that every day on the way to work.
Clown in a Cornfield, check it out in theaters. It's a fun theater watch. I think it's worth checking it out.
Yeah, take your friends.
Yeah, definitely. We next up, the final film that we saw was different. Actually, we didn't all go to the same screenings. Randy, you saw a movie called Frewaka. What the hell
That's
was that
right,
about?
yeah.
What's going on with that?
So Frewaka is a film that's partially in English. It's an Irish film. It's partially in English, partially in Irish language, and it's definitely a folk horror. It's about this woman who's she's in a relationship with this woman who's pregnant, but at the same time she is clearing out her mother's things after her mother had a sort of a mental break and as the children say, unalived herself. And she's dealing with that while also being called out as a live-in caregiver for an elderly woman way out in the sticks. And that's where the main thrust of the film happens, is out in the sticks. Everybody's very strange out there. It's got a lot of like, it's got the feeling of like a Wicker Man sort of scenario, but I wouldn't go that far with it. Like, and I definitely don't want to spoil anything that actually is happening. But it's that movie is very much about like has a lot to do with gender and things like that. And I think there might be some of that here, but this is really more in the vein of thematically like a Hereditary or that sort of thing, where it's a generational trauma movie. And I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really well made, well acted. It was interesting to see, like, I like a good folk horror and things like that. I'm just a little bit over that as like your core thesis, the generational trauma train. It's really hard for me not to gauge it against Hereditary. That's just like, that's the high water mark for me. And, you know, I've just, because that movie is so respected and beloved, there's been a lot of movies that have tried to similar things, and they all have varying levels of success, varying different flavors to them. But ultimately, I'm just kind of like, I'm a little bit over inundated with that, I think.
I feel you.
So like, while I did enjoy this movie, that is probably the big criticism I would give it. It doesn't really do a whole lot new in that regard, but the flavor of being like in a folk horror setting and very much immersed in a culture that I'm not terribly familiar with, but that I'm like piecing together as we go. It was good. It was enjoyable. I would say like it's worthy of a theater watch, but it would maybe not be the first on my list for a theater watch out of what we've seen. It
Cool.
definitely wouldn't be, actually.
I heard a couple people at the festival say it was one of their favorites, but
yeah, that's what prompted me to want to like split and like spread around some attention.
Spread the love around. So Frewaka, keep your eyes peeled for that. I don't think it has a release date just yet. Matt, you and I capped off the festival by watching a movie called It Ends. And this was written and directed by Alex Ulam. And this is his feature film debut. He's a recent Florida State University grad. They were there and did a Q&A afterwards. I would kind of describe this movie as almost like a Twilight Zone episode where there's four young 20-somethings. They just graduated college and they're in a Jeep Wrangler and they're driving to wherever to drop their buddy off. He's gonna like go start his career, and they think they miss a turn and they're driving down this road in the middle of nowhere. They turn around and it seems like the road they drove in on is now a dead end, so they're kind of confused. They turn around again and there seems like it's just a one-lane road that never ends, and they just are trying to figure out the situation and how to handle it.
Yeah, on paper, I read the synopsis before we went to saw this, and I'm like, this probably isn't going to be that good. And it turns out this was my favorite film we watched while we were there. And it's literally just four people talking to each other for an hour and a half. And yet I was there the whole time. I felt by the end, I felt like I really knew these people. These are all unknown actors, and I think they all did a great job. And then the director came out afterwards and talked and said he originally filmed this as a short, and people saw it and liked it so much they gave him more money, and he went and extended it. And then people saw that version and liked it so much they gave him more money. So he worked on this movie at 3 separate times. And at no point while I was watching that could you tell that he had to go back reshoots 2 different times.
Not at all. The production designer was there with him, and she also said they shot some of the movie on a soundstage. Everything looks so natural in this movie. I kind of couldn't believe it when she said that. And also, in order to get the car onto the soundstage, they apparently had to like cut it up with a laser, like cut it in thirds and reassemble it, which just kind of blew my mind. Because not for a second did I ever think any of this movie was shot on a soundstage.
The old rusty gutter.
But yeah, to your point, Matt, the dialogue is like so naturalistic between these four characters, so much so that I was like, oh, they have to be like lifelong friends or something, but they're not.
No, they were all in the same acting class together and just happened to be at Florida State,
Yeah, it was just a super well crafted movie overall, and it's interesting. Definitely one worth keeping an eye out for.
It's also the one I'm most excited to rewatch. Like, I think I'm ready to jump in again.
Yeah, it is.
Well, fuck.
It's one that I keep thinking about. There's a lot to chew on with this one, and I think it would probably be fun to do like a proper review on Straight Chilling whenever it does get released. But we'll see whenever that happens. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for It Ends. Hopefully dropping real soon. I think the last thing I have here to talk about is the one streamer that we got
dumpster?
here. No, we forgot to mention that. We got one streamer for a movie called Best Wishes to All, and as it turns out, Justin actually did see this at BFON a couple years ago, but I guess it's just now making its way over to the States. And this is a Japanese film written and directed by Yuta Shimatsu, and this is about a young woman who is studying to be a nurse in Tokyo, and she goes to visit her grandparents in a small, remote Japanese town, and some really fucking weird shit's going down with her grandparents, and she's trying to figure out what the deal is. Got some good scares. Definitely has like some classic sort of like J-horror kind of vibes, I guess. Not tropes necessarily, but certain like imagery that I think you've kind of come to know from certain J-horror movies. And it actually did kind of freak me out a little bit, and it got me, it got me a couple times. So I definitely enjoyed it. I think if you're into Japanese horror films, like, more modern day Japanese horror films, that is, the Ringu or Audition, mid-90s to early 2000s kind of stuff. It reminded me a lot of that. Pulse.
Did you say this was Korean or
no? It's
or
Japanese.
I don't know why I thought you said Korean. Okay.
Yeah. It's definitely Japanese. Best Wishes to All. I don't know when that one's going to be dropping. Hopefully soon though. Definitely worth checking out. I think that's everything that we saw. Did we forget anything?
No, the librarian saw a movie called 40 Acres though, and she gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So if, she made me feel. I forgot. She told me the plot, and I forgot it. But she's talked very highly of that movie, so I have put it on my list.
I think it's a post-apocalyptic kind of thing. I think she described it as like a more actiony than horror, maybe like a survival horror kind of thing. People were raving about that though. Yeah, that's a big one that we seem to have missed at the festival. Also, another big one we missed at the festival was The Ugly Stepsister, which is like a body horror Cinderella kind of thing.
I think that took the audience award.
Yeah,
that
I believe it
took
did.
the audience award. Ugly Stepsister. It Ends was honorable mention as well.
Yeah, and I believe the librarian really thoroughly enjoyed Ugly Stepsister as well, and that is going to be hitting Shudder at some point this year too. So that'll be getting a wide release, pretty available, easy to watch. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. Yeah, some good stuff. Like we said, it's impossible to see everything, even though we would love to.
And quick shout out to the jury prize winners of which were Touch Me by Addison Hyman and Redux by Kevin and Matthew McManus, both of which we
missed. Yeah,
know nothing about even now.
I know,
buddy.
You do your best to pick what you think are going to be the heaters, but the thing about going into these festivals is essentially nothing about these movies. So it can be hard. It can be really
Last
hard.
year I feel like we hit every banger without question. Like every absolute banger we managed. And we also got we just were lucky enough to get more screeners last year to round things out.
Yeah, but, we overall watched just quite a bit more at the Overlook last year. But
just the batch this year was a little bit more towards the middle than last year, and I think that some of the highlights just completely escaped us.
Yeah. We'll play catch up though. Hopefully that gave you guys at least a handful of titles to pencil down and keep your eyes peeled for later this year, dropping later this year. Matt, thanks for hanging out with us in real life and also digitally.
Oh yeah, no problem, guys. Fucking throw up the Matt symbol anytime you want. I will. I'll show up.
Is that just a huge boner in the sky? Is that the Matt symbol?
Not too huge though. I don't want to give you the wrong idea.
Just an average boner in the sky.
People tell me I look like Han Solo.
Awesome. Yeah, well, if you want to hang out with us next year at the Overlook Film Festival, keep your eyes on their social media, see whenever they're dropping those dates and tickets, and come hang out with us. Come join the children. And until next time, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.